did they give up too much for Dexter Lawrence, the Bengals?
Man, I thought about this for a second, and I thought about it a couple different ways. I said, okay, you look at Dexter Lawrence and his career, it's kind of been up and down. There was a point where at his peak, he was easily top 5 D tackle at his peak. But then you look at last year, it's like, dang, what the heck happened? You got 2 Pro Bowl DNs, you bring in the 3rd overall pick, he's a rusher, so this should make you better. This should make things easier, but then he had his worst year. So I didn't know if it was, he just wasn't happy being there or what. I didn't know what was going on. But then I think about the Cincinnati Bengals and I think about their current situation and then I think about their past. And you just mentioned it. They haven't drafted a Pro Bowl, All-Pro level defender since my draft, and that was Geno Atkins and Carlos Dunlap. Yeah. You know how long ago that was? Yeah. So then I started thinking, okay, what is a team thinking? We don't draft. They're not like the Cowboys. Skip, the Cowboys can draft. I don't care whether the drought of the 30 years or whatever, they can draft. They always draft in Pro Bowl, All-Pro, Hall of Fame caliber players. They just draft well, so they value draft picks. Cincinnati probably like, man, forget the draft picks because whoever we get at 10 can't give us what Dexter Lawrence is. So they just said, you know what? We're just going to pull the trigger. Our Achilles heel has been our defense. And this is one of those, to get somewhere you never been, you got to do something you never done. This is not what Cincinnati do. So they just switched it up. They trying something different. They brought in Jonathan Allen. He's a Pro Bowl D tackle. Brian Cook, he's a safety. He's won a Super Bowl. Boye, I can't pronounce his name. Mafe. He's just won the Super Bowl, so you brought in 2 Super Bowl winners on defense. Yep. Then you drafted Shamar Stewart last year. Then Demetrius Knight, who had a great rookie season at linebacker. You're just trying to bolster this defense. So when I think about they're in this win now mentality, and that winning window is small. You know, they got to keep Joe upright. But you get this defense rolling with how Joe is, you got the best wide receiver in the league, you got a shot. So I'm going to say they made the right decision by doing this because who were you going to get at that pick where you like, you know what, I can get me a Dexter Lawrence. So I like it, man. At first I was like, but then once I really broke down the situation, I said, yeah, I like it. So I like Dexter going there.
I think the plan was to draft a defensive starter at number 10. And shit, you want him to be Pro Bowl. You want him to come in, start, be a Pro Bowler. If I got a chance to get a for sure starter and a previous Pro Bowler, I mean, why not? I mean, this dude, 2-time All-Pro, 2nd-team All-Pro. He a Pro Bowler. He a starter for you. And you hit on it. They in the process of building up this defense. You bring in Mafe, Cook, Jonathan Allen. You paired Dexter Lawrence with Jonathan Allen. Now, shit, I feel like you own something. Cook had an amazing season for the Chiefs last year. It was one of their bright spots. You look at his PFF, Skip. You know that PFF. He was dark green. That's good, Skip. If you blue, you cooking. Yep. You know what I'm saying? He was dark green, almost blue, like 84, 85 or something like that. So he had a great season, man. That's a great guy to let lead the show on the back end, man. So if I'm building up my defense, man, I add Dexter Lawrence to the fold, you know, I feel like we're going in the right direction. You might can still get a corner early 2nd round, you know what I'm saying? Maybe Hood, maybe Chris Johnson, maybe them guys will be there right at the beginning of that 2nd round. Them 2 good corners who may be there. You can still add to that secondary, add to that defense. So you don't need not a player on offense. You building your defense with Pro Bowl caliber guys, Super Bowl champions, like he said. So I feel like they're in the right direction, man. I ain't mad at the pick. I ain't mad at the trade at all.
For me, it just comes down to which version of Dexter are we getting? Because last year, or two years ago, he dislocated his elbow, comes back this last year. You watch him try to take on all these double teams because he gets that like every play. And it's just different when he wasn't able to lock things out and his feet were kind of sliding underneath him. I'm guessing he's going to have a bounce-back season, but there's some on-off splits. Like the 3 years before, 13% pressure. Last year, 8%. And then some of the run stopping, he was getting blown off on some of these double teams, which is like we haven't seen in 4 years. So I'm assuming it's the elbow injury, but the thing that makes me nervous is that happened in 2024, and then all of 2025 just could not get it going. But when you watch the tape, like huge elbow brace on the entire time, and I think that was probably definitely affecting him.
Yeah, I like this move. I know statistically his numbers dropped this past season, but he's still one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. And what makes him so valuable is the attention that he demands every single play. You talked about it. He was double teamed 70% of the time last year. That was third most for interior defensive linemen. In 2024, he was double teamed 74% of the snaps. That was most out of every defensive tackle in the NFL, and he still can produce at a high level. And that's also important, too, because it gives the guys around him an opportunity to make plays. You get a lot of one-on-one opportunities on the outside. Brian Burns last year had 16 sacks. He got a ton of one-on-one opportunities because offensive coordinators are so focused on not allowing Dexter Lawrence to disrupt their game plan that he gets a lot of the attention. Also, we're talking about a top 10 pick. So, yes, there's a lot of value, but I'm a firm believer that draft picks are question marks. You never really know what a guy is going to be when they get to the NFL, so there's always that risk factor involved. Dexter Lawrence isn't a question mark. He's a proven player who's still only 28 years old. A lot of people talk about him like he's out of his prime. He could just potentially be entering his prime. I know he had a down year, but the years before that, he's produced at a high level. Also, the Bengals picking at number 10, it's not even a guarantee they're going to get the guy that they want. Why even take that risk and sit back? Get a guy that you know can come in. You talk about the other moves they made this offseason. Statistically, they've been one of the worst defenses in the NFL year after year. I love this move, and I think they're going to take a huge step forward in 2026 on that side of the ball.
I'm surprised everybody's loving it.
So Skip.
Skip. Was Skip hooning you 3 times?
When I first heard this, I thought you got fleeced because just on the surface, at a glance, wait a second. You just gave up the 10th pick for a guy coming off not just a bad year, a terrible year. And I get everything Hayden said about the brace and the elbow issue, but he had a terrible year with just a half a sack and his tackles fell in half. He was a non-factor for a defense that has been bad for 3 straight years. They've been 26th, 21st, and 26th in yards allowed over the last 3 years, with Dexter Lawrence the previous 2 years having a pretty good year, a Pro Bowl year. And now I'm saying Dexter Lawrence wants more money. He wants $30 million a year coming off that year for a bad defense surrounded by first-round picks. All around him were first-round picks. Brian Burns, Thibodeau, Abdul Carter. He's got first-rounders everywhere. So I'm saying, shouldn't that help him a little bit to have that kind of pass rush around him, even though Thibodeau hadn't lived up, and I'm not sure about Abdul Carter yet. Didn't see it last year. But Brian Burns had a monster year for them for, once again, a bad defense. Okay, so then I wake up this morning and I read Adam Schefter's piece on ESPN.com, and it had some bombshells in it. The first one was a quote from a GM that said, "This is not a great year to have a top 10 pick." And I think, except for a couple of guys, that's pretty true. Another GM told Adam Schefter that the first half of round 1 is uninspiring this year. A lot of good players, not a lot of star power. Okay, so given that, I'm looking at the 10th pick as, okay, and you've been saying all along, well, you can get a very good player. Can you get a superstar at 10 or 9 or 8 or they've got 5 and 10 now? Can you get a superstar at 5? Not sure about that. So this morning I'm starting to think, okay, maybe giving up 10 wasn't so bad. In a vacuum, it looks terrible because it just in any other year, you just wouldn't do that for that guy. And he will be 29. You could be saying he's entering his prime. I don't know about that. I'm not sure. He now says...
He's not out of it.
Yeah, he now says his fire is lit like it's never been. So you got chip on shoulder going to Cincinnati, and I do love that. And the other thing I loved was I waited for the other shoe to drop last night. He wanted $30 million a year. And if I'm reading this right, and I still... The final tally hadn't come out yet from the Bengals, but I think they only gave him 1 year of extension at the end of, he's got 2 already at 22-ish. Okay, so 2, that's very reasonable for you. The first 2 years are like steals. And the third year, they gave him 28. Okay, but that's 3 years out from now, and 28, 3 years from now, will seem like cookie jar money, right? It'll just be silly money. Well, so really, you pulled off something. because you need to show Joe Burrow we did something. We went out and got a real guy. We're not just drafting some kid hoping he comes through for us. This guy is he made 3 straight Pro Bowls. He's been a first-team All-Pro. So we got a real guy for you, because if you don't, the Bengals over the last 3 years, if you do their average yards allowed per season, they're dead last in the NFL.
Yeah.
They're even worse than Dallas is, okay? So you got a guy, and you got a couple other guys, Mafe and Jonathan Allen. Again, are they great players? No, but can they help? Will Brian Cook help? Yes, he'll help. So you have to be a little better next year, just on the surface of you got some guys who have proven in the league they're pretty good. Okay, so all said, if I look at this draft for defensive tackles, I don't see any. I don't see a star in there anywhere. I don't, even if you could maneuver around and try to get him, I don't see it. And I read this morning, next year's draft is devoid of defensive tackles. There's nobody on the horizon that you could say over the next 2 years is going to be Dexter Lawrence. There's not a you. Okay, so now it starts to make sense. The 10th pick in most years is pretty valuable. It's too valuable for Dexter Lawrence to me. I wouldn't do that until now. And circumstantially, within this year, I'm with the group that you pulled it off. I would say, go Bengals, go, because you got a real guy coming off a bad year who at least gives you hope for next year and makes Joe Burrow think, okay, now we got a shot.
And this is the first time in franchise history that
ever
the
done
Cincinnati
that.
Bengals have ever traded a pick just straight for a player number 10.
And sometimes
so
it
it's
can
like
be
they're
deceiving. Like, I ain't saying he had a good year, but if I get all the double teams, all the attention, and it's a guy on the end who come away, he's second in the league in sacks, I got something to do with that.
Okay.
Gotta say I got something to do with that. You say the other side, Thibodeau
And
Burns,
Abdul Carter.
shit, they combined for 7 sacks.
Thibodeau been a double-digit guy before?
Yeah, I know. He had 11 and a half. So, I mean, I got to say I got something to do with that. So, just because your number's down, I don't think it always means that you had a down year.
Okay. So how was the Giants' defense so bad with Dexter Lawrence and all those number 1 picks? That's what I can't fathom. I just don't. For 3 years, they have not been very good.
Because they got, when you think about the defensive lineman they got, I played with Burnsy. Burnsy's a pass rusher. Thibodeau, all he want to do is rush the passer.
Right.
All Abdul Carter want to do is rush the passer.
Okay.
You got Dexter Lawrence, who got praised because he was a nose guard pushing the pocket the way he did.
was.
Rushing the
Nose
pass.
guards are not supposed to be getting 9 sacks.
Yeah.
But because he was so dominant, they found a way to put him one-on-one with centers,
Yeah.
who we as defensive linemen believe are the worst blockers on the field. That's why they're surrounded by everybody else.
Yep.
They're smart, but they're the worst blockers. So you put a Dexter Lawrence on him one-on-one, he's going to disrupt. But that don't mean you got 3 pass rushers and 1 run stopper who can rush the passer.
Right.
So you got that one guy, and then what? How are we stopping the run? If I can just hand the ball off all day and just keep handing the ball off and keep handing the ball off, that's just what I'm going to do. So it's great that they can rush the passer, but they were terrible against the run. What are my backers doing?
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, like,
Dexter Lawrence getting pushed out of there with 2 guys on him. Where's the backers at?
yeah,
Right now?
like if I got 2 people on me, that means I'm taking in blocking schemes. If I'm taking on 2, whether they bumping up to the backer or not, I got 2 people. If I'm holding up 2, you need to shoot your gun. If you're not shooting your gun, then what? Like, even Leave. If he got a crack replace or whatever, if he have to come field, everybody else is in their gap. If Leave got to come field, okay, then he's going to come field. If I'm taking on 2 people, that means one of these gaps is open.
Exactly.
What is everybody else doing? So, and then if you go look at what he did 2 years ago with stopping the run, just him, he's doing his part. So you partner him with Jonathan Allen, then you drafted a first-round DN. Those 2 guys are going to do what Dallas is going to do for any end they bring in.
All right.
You got 2 D tackles that's going to make life easier for edge guys.
But
Bring
speaking
in
of,
Tremaine, you bring in Edmonds. You know what I'm saying? That's a down. He's stopping linebacker.
I agree. But speaking of Dallas, week 2 last year at Jerry World, we hung 40 on Dexter Lawrence's defense. 40. It took overtime, but we scored 40 points. So we're just doing whatever we want.
Well, Dallas offense was doing that to everybody.
And to Gerald's point, like it doesn't matter how good your pass rush is if you can't cover on the back.
No.
Too.
Yeah.
Now offensively, I'm going in the game saying, I'm just going to frustrate all these guys. I'm going to
That's
get it out
what I'm
quick. I'm
saying.
going to get it out quick. Then I'm going to go max protection and have 7 or 8 guys blocking and have 2-man routes that I know they can still win on. That's just, you have to be great up front. You have to be great in the middle. And you also have to be great on the back end.
Yeah.
And the Giants are still searching for that.
Okay. Well, at least, Kenzie, you can show Joe that
Yes.
that you're trying. You know, you're trying to make it better, because even the year you went to the Super Bowl, you were ranked 17th in yards allowed. So you were average at best. And if you have another year on defense like you've had the last 3, Joe Burrow is going to demand a trade after next year,
Yeah,
right?
and they gave up 147 rushing yards per game.
Per game.
So it's like, that's the thing. It's the effort. This is not something the Bengals do. So them going out and doing that just at least is like, hey, Joe, we're all in. We're willing to make these moves. So that, because I would worry that he would request a trade next season. So I like that they're making moves. That's what I like.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, I was actually, that's shocking to me. I was not expecting that conversation to go that way. So great news. But let's look at the other side of this trade, because I do think it was a win-win for both. But because now obviously the Giants are in rebuild mode, and now they have pick 5 and 10. So I want to look at your mock draft and see what we got moving here, and you can jump into that. So you have the Giants landing both Ohio State playmakers, right? You've got Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs. So, Hayden, I'm going to give it to you first. Kind of go in, and what do you think the Giants are going to do with 5 and 10?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's the new Giants regime. So we got Harbaugh here. He's the entire offseason we got to stop the run. We got to get better in the trenches. You trade Dexter Lawrence because he didn't want to deal with Joe Shane. So I think the first thing is like the state of the Giants. It's pretty bad right now. Like they retained the GM, and now he didn't even want to negotiate with them. So I think we have to take a step back and just reevaluate what the Giants are even doing. But Harbaugh's not going to have no bad defensive tackles and bad linebackers. There's just no way. So I think the biggest thing for mock drafts and just the regular draft, Sonny Styles, I think, is going to be a Giant. I mean, you can't go into the season with their state of the defense tackles and the linebackers. So I think that Sonny Styles is the top choice at number 5 if he gets there. And then at 10th overall, they're hoping that Caleb Downs is going to get there. I think that's going to be the harder part here, because I think a bunch of teams, including your Cowboys, Skip, could trade up ahead of the Giants. But I just think they're not going to walk out of here without at least somebody to stop the run and somebody in the trenches. That's just what Harbaugh's DNA is, and I think that's how the draft kind of lines up for him.
And Key, what do you think?
I like this. I think that's ideal. If the Giants can do that, they can get Sonny Styles at 5, Caleb Downs at 10. I think that put them in a good spot on defense. Man.
Yeah.
You partner Sonny Styles with Tremaine Edmonds in the middle. You partner Caleb Downs with Javon Holland on the back end. I think that clean up a lot of stuff. Them 4 good players right in the middle of your defense on second level, third level. They brought in Newsome, you know what I'm saying? Debo, he a good player. He's a starter. So Caleb Downs really cleaned up that secondary for you. So I think this is ideal. I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't think Caleb Downs lasting to pick number 10. So
You don't?
I don't think he lasting. I think y'all coming to get him, Skip. I think Cowboys is going to come get him.
Come get him in the top 10?
Why not? He the blue chip guy. It's blue chip to me is no flaws. It's almost I can't miss talent. That means Bane, I can't call you a blue chip because you got a flaw. You got the short arms. I can't call. But I mean, Caleb Downs is one of the blue chip guys.
Okay, is David Bailey blue chip?
Blue chip.
Okay.
He's one of the blue chip guys.
Well, that's
easier.
Yeah.
It's easier to find Sonny Styles than a Caleb Downs, because the Sonny Styles, he's a freak athlete. He can run sideline to sideline, get downhill. But Caleb Downs, man, he clean up so much. You can blitz him. He can fill in the run. He can cover the whole field in the back end. It's so much that he can do.
He can do everything.
He do everything, and I just personally believe it's easier to find a Sonny Styles type player than a Caleb Downs. That's just a different.
If Caleb going at 10, I think they go wide out. They get the best wide out available. Whether that's Concepcion, I think Tyson gonna be gone, Tate gonna be gone. So I think it's gonna be Lemon and Concepcion gonna be left.
And see, Lee, I was thinking about it differently, depending on how they looking at it, because they just drafted their quarterback of the future last year.
Yep.
What if at 5 they say, okay, we know Caleb ain't getting the 10, but we need a defender. So with Harbaugh being the defensive-minded coach, we take Caleb Downs early because we know one of these wide receivers will be there at 10.
Yeah.
So we might not take 2 defenders because Sonny Styles, although he's a freak athlete or whatever, we can find a really good second round, third round linebacker to come in and play, okay? But Caleb Downs, those guys are hard to get. And like Lieb said, I don't believe he getting the 10.
Right.
So if we want to get our guy, we get Downs and still get a top wide receiver at 10 because there's going to be a wide receiver there. So I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but that's a way to think about it. If you don't go double defenders, we get Caleb first to make sure we get him before somebody grab him, and then we still can have another weapon for our young quarterback.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and that's what I said. If that happens, I love the scenario. If they can land both Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs, great. Whoever they take at 5, I still think Sonny Styles has a ton of value. I know he's kind of a guy that you can put in different spots and you can move him around, and you're saying Caleb Downs is a better overall player, but I think Sonny Styles is a can't-miss guy. I think he's going to be a dominant player in the NFL. But at 10, regardless of who they take, if they don't have Downs or Styles available at 10, I think they go wide receiver for a couple reasons. And who that's going to be, I'm with you. I think they're still going to have a pick between Mekhi Lemon. I know you said Tyson's going to be gone, but
Tyson's going to be out of there.
I think Tyson could potentially still be there at 10.
I think he's going to be gone, man.
Well, regardless of who they take, I think adding a receiver will be a great move for them for a couple reasons. First is you just invested a first-round pick in Jackson Dart last year. In fact, you traded up to go get him. If you're going to invest a first-round pick in a quarterback, you've got to invest in the pieces around him. Adding another talented wide receiver would do just that. The second thing is Matt Nagy is their new offensive coordinator. He runs a West Coast offense. You're going to see a ton of 11 personnel, which is 3 wide receiver sets. You have to have depth and talent at wide receiver to maximize that offense. You can't just have a bunch of guys. You've got to have multiple playmakers, which leads me to my third point. Is all of the great wide receivers, or almost all of the great wide receivers in the NFL, what do they have in common? They've got a really good number 2 or a 1B. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, CeeDee Lamb, and George Pickens, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams. The list goes on and on. All these guys have a great supporting wide receiver around them to take some of those double teams off them and give them one-on-one opportunities. You just drafted Malik Neighbors in the first round a couple years ago. Add another premier playmaker opposite of him, help out your offense, and then maximize the potential that you can have under Matt Nagy and help your young quarterback in Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll say up front to all your points, I don't hate Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs. If you can pull that off, I don't hate it because it's conventional, it's cut and dried, it's inside the box. It's predictable thinking where you'd say yes and yes to restock the defense under a defensive-minded coach. Got that. But this is just me. If that GM is right in Adam Schefter's piece on ESPN.com this morning, not a great year to have a top 10 pick. If that's correct, you know what I would do? I'd go outside the box. This is just me, but I think this way. I would shoot the moon on this one. I would take 5 and 10, because I'm going to remind you, 2022, the Giants had 5 and 7, and it didn't turn out so well. Yeah. Thibodeau and Evan Neal, right? Okay, so I would take 5 and 10, and I think you're going to have to go to 3, because I think Jeremiah Love is going to go 3. I just think Arizona's sitting on him. Okay? And this is what I'd do. I'd take 5 and 10, and I'd go get Jeremiah Love, because I'd say, I got the best player in the draft. I've got a guy who at his position, everybody believes is better than even Fernando Mendoza is at his position. Just if you're going, how great are you at your position? Even though quarterback's obviously a little more valuable than running back. But if I get that running back who can also play receiver for me and be an ultimate two-way playmaker at 2 positions, then I've got Jackson Dart and I got Malik Neighbors and I got Scatterboo to do the dirty work for me, to do the short yardage stuff and the goal line and all that. I got that. And I can pair him and Jeremiah Love. And now New York could go crazy over that. You'd own the city off that. Where all of a sudden, that's a move wherever it's a wow factor move that ignites your whole football team because you got the quote-unquote best player in the draft. That's what I would do given where do I like Sonny? Yeah, I like him a lot. But you said, are you sure? You know, like is he a superstar difference maker? Are you sure about that?
I think he is a great player to draft at 5. I just wouldn't trade my first and second. I wouldn't trade up to come get him. That was my point. Yeah. I think he's gonna be a damn good starting interior linebacker. And if they did come up and get Love and their offense is solid, if you 31st in run defense again,
No, I got
then
it.
you're just not going to be a good
Yeah.
football team. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm trying to do. I can't be 31st in run defense. How can I fix that?
Yeah.
Draft them 2 motherfuckers right there. You won't be 31st in run defense with the pieces that you added already.
And they just gave up Dexter Lawrence. They just got rid of their.
It's getting worse.
Yeah.
Like that. You can't give up. I think at least one of those picks have to go to defense. I think you sit there and take Styles at 5 and then hope that you get Downs at 10. If you don't, then you address wide receiver. But I think giving up both those picks to go get a running back, who is, I think, the best player in this draft, is just not what the Giants need to do. In theory, it sounds great for a lot of teams, but you've got to look at it situationally, like what's best for them.
Okay, I got
don't
it.
think that would be the best for them.
Okay, but is Jeremiah Love a life changer? Is he like that
Did he
guy?
change life for Notre Dame?
And Scadabo's pretty good. Like I think like Scadabo's
Yeah.
passes the test to me. I know he's coming
Yeah,
off
I
this crazy
just
injury.
don't know
but-
how long he's going to last playing like that.
But
I
did
just
he
don't-
change life for Notre Dame?
He will for Arizona.
He ruined Trojan's life.
I mean,
Yeah,
but
he
did
did.
he?
Both of the backs.
I'll tell you that much.
Both
Yeah,
of
him
them.
and Price.
I'm not trading my 5 and 10 for him. No.
I mean,
Not
he
for
didn't
AJ
change life for
Peterson.
Notre Dame. Did they go to the playoffs?
They should have,
to-
but they didn't.
But did they?
They did not.
Wait, that life was not changed at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I mean, they
he-
went to
just
the,
look at-
they went to
but
the
if
national
you-
championship the year before last.
But if you look at, I'm telling you, man.
who
you
was
look at-
Indiana running back? Like, running back is that position, man. I don't need the best player. I just need the best line, the best defense, the best scheme, and my running back gonna eat. Like,
That's right.
like Scatterbo just fine. So I
telling you,
don't
man.
know. I don't need the best running back in the league.
that Caleb Downs, I'm telling you, look at what they got to face. They got to face what they got in Dallas. And they got to face, we don't know what's going to happen with Philly, but we know even if, let's say.
Saquon gonna be
let's
back
say-
there, we
That's
know
what
that.
I'm saying. Well, let's say, they do trade one of the wide receivers. They still got a guy that can take the top off the defense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like Washington got a guy that can take the top off the defense. Like these are things you got to think about when you draft it. Adding a running back that high,
Follow
I'm
Philly.
good.
Follow what Philly do. Philly, they go out and they shop with Georgia. This is a damn good school. Give us
saying?
all y'all dogs, right? Hey, John, do what they do. It's Ohio State. They got a dog-ass defense. Give me all them guys. I'm trying to get as many guys off Ohio State defense as I can.
we got the New York Buckeyes.
You
coming
feel
up.
me? The New York Buckeyes, man. Let's do it.
All right, okay, another thing.